Shut up and sit down.
Hi guys, Andy here from Bigmeks Workshop Painting Studio, and today we're painting the 4-year-old Osiron Contempter Dreadnought from the Thousand Suns range. This is a really cool figure. As you can see, it's got stack loads of detail. This is the power claw. It's got a sword built in as well, and also going to be painting up the twin-linked autocannons, which is commonly used as the butcher cannons in 40k. So we're also going to go for a candy style paintwork. So we're starting off with a base coat of gunmetal by Vallejo. This is a good airbrush colour, but I'm also doing it by hand on a Chaos Warrior. I'm going to get a good coat on both of these, and we're going to show you the differences between painting through an airbrush, painting through it by hand as well. So both of these models are getting a steel dry brush. This is a nice soft dry brush, what Dodge made himself out of an old brush what was laying about. Seems to work a lot better than the standard ones. We tend to prefer our dry brushes fairly soft. It's also having a second dry brush of chrome. Now we're just focusing right on the top areas now, really making those edges make them shiny. And this is going to transfer nicely through into the paint what we're using. Now this is the Tamiya Clear Blue, well known to be a bit of a dodgy one. You can replace this with contrast. I have seen results of contrast paints now, so you can get a decent colour with the contrast paints, and they do really make a nice effect. So I'm using some airbrush thinners just to get a nice consistency on it. I'm doing using the same paint consistency through the airbrush and by hand, making the paint really thin, really controllable. Now I need to chop some of this section out because it's well, a bit pointless. So here we are, we've got the highlighted up Chaos Warrior, and as you can see I'm just using an old brush because this stuff is a little bit iffy, quite thick, so it's nice and thin down, and I'm getting a few layers of this. It's going even on the airbrush, I'm going to take a few layers because it's like you say, it's a very clear paint. It's very translucent, so you do get a really cool effect. But you can get it by hand as well. It's just a little bit easier and a lot quicker using the airbrush. So there we are. I've got a couple of layers of airbrush onto the Dreadnought itself. Having a little bit of trouble getting through the airbrush, but that's more down to the airbrush playing up a little bit than the paint itself. The airbrush was a bit of a bugger for me. So 2 or 3 layers in, as you can see, the colour's really starting to get deep now, and it's just a case of just layering up that colour, making it the shade you want. So I've gone for quite a deep colour with focus on the underneath to get to add more shade in the blue, and you can just see how the transitions work with the highlighted silvers underneath. So after it's got the blue down, I'm going to just black out all of the detail. So anything that's not getting painted blue is getting blacked out, and I'm just going to be really careful to not make too many mistakes, because obviously mistakes cause problems and you wind up having to do more than you need to. So as always, it's just a generic black. Take it to using Vallejo's Game Air Black rather than a prime. It's just a personal preference I've picked up over the last few months. And now on to the detail work now. So this is Games Workshop's RETRIBUTOR armour. I wanted a really yellowy gold for the gold work, the decoration, should I say. So yellowy, Games Workshop's RETRIBUTOR is a really nice yellowy gold for that. And once all that, the first couple of layers are down there, I'm going back over all the internal mechanisms with LEADBELCHER by Games Workshop as well. Now this is quite a nice dark one. It gives a really good coverage of all the detail work, and you can get a nice finish on it. Once the Retributor's dried, I'm using REKLAND flesh all over the detail work, getting all that gold with a nice rich wash in it, really make that detail start to stand out, and you can really work with it now. And I'm doing the same sort of thing on the mechanical sections, which is using GW's NULN oil, which, as you know, is a really good wash for any kind of silver work. I'm just getting a couple of layers thinned down, picking out all that detail, and I'm starting to add some more colours now. So all the mechanical sections are getting broken up a little bit with some Vallejo rust. Now, I've taken to this colour a hell of a lot. I use it for all kinds of different things. It's a bit of a flavour of the month, I suppose. After REKLAND's dried, back onto Retributor armour again, just to bring out the detail, get rid of some of the scruffiness of the wash, and just tidying everything up and start to get them initial colours just starting to show through now, and it's really get a rich yellowy gold. I've added some polished gold by Vallejo into the Retributor, starting to just gently highlight those wings on the chest piece, and going around all of the areas of the gold with this colour, just to start to bring out that detail, really give it a real nice shine. Now adding just pure polished gold at this point, and as you can see, I'm using a double zero at this point, and this is going to work on all the edges around all the gold work. And although it still looks a little bit scruffy at this stage, I'm just starting to bring everything together a little bit, and you'll start to see the effects as more washes and more layers go in. So now it's scale 75's Moonstone. This is a great colour for highlighting any golds. It's really vibrant, and you can just add a nice touch of colour what a silver would do without changing the colour of the gold. It's quite hard to explain, but yeah, it's a really good colour for highlighting golds, and I'm using this mainly towards the edges and the most raised areas, just getting that colour just so. And just doing another quick layer of the Moonstone just to make it all a little bit more vibrant, just tidying everything up a little bit as well, just making it all that bit more shiny, that bit more impressive. Yes, the Thousand Suns are known for all their gold colours. So I've added a touch of thrash metal into it now, which is another scale 75, and now I'm just really focusing on the edges with this nice vibrant gold, silvery gold, and you can really start to see how the highlights are going to work together. So onto the metal work again. This is thrash metal again, back onto the silver work. Good call for highlighting the silver. Also gives me something to work with if I want to go any higher. And just focusing around all those mechanical sections, making the detail really start to stand out. And as you can see, I'm just using a flat silver brush, just to get those nice smooth highlights. Now the interesting thing with painting with these translucent paints is you can use the colour underneath to highlight the edges, and although this is super zoomed in so it looks a bit weird, this is Vallejo's Chrome. Now I'm just trying to keep the highlights as narrow as possible, and what you're going to get when you get the overall effect is a very sharp highlight on the edges, just really makes it all stand out nicely. So all the yellow and the white sections are getting a base layer of Vallejo's Heavy Brown. I'm using it for the whites as well because I want a kind of a creamy white to complement the yellow sections. And yellow does go over brown quite nicely. So once you start to add the layers, it really does help give you a nice base layer. So Filthy Brown now for the yellow sections. Filthy Brown's a really good colour to work with when you're painting yellows to get the base layers in. Really does give a good coverage, and you get a nice yellow base at this point. So now I've added some golden yellow into the Filthy Brown. It's around about 50-50. Golden yellow is another game colour by Vallejo, and I'm just starting to make that yellow actually yellow at this stage, rather than a kind of a dull, grimy, browny yellow. So I want these yellows really vibrant, really colourful, just to break up them flat blues. So now I'm adding some pale yellow into the mixture. And this is going to be an ongoing theme now for the next few layers. Just working on the upper half of the sections of the yellow, starting to make those yellows quite vibrant, really make them stand out against all the darker colours. So as suggested, I'm adding more pale yellow into it now, and you can start to see the highlights are really starting to show up. Now I'm struggling a little bit with this brush. The GW brushes don't last us very long. We do tend to get a bit of hammer. So this is, like I say, more pale yellow, and we're just starting to get those yellow sections. I don't know what they would be called. Get them nice and bright. So even more pale yellow. This is almost pure at this stage, and as you can see I'm just starting to work on the edges, and this will give you a really nice bright effect on all of the yellow sections. So now I'm adding REKLAND Flesh. It's really thin down, really thin onto the yellow, and this is just to add a bit of depth onto all those incantation runes, and it also blends the colours in nicely with the golds and the blues, adding that little touch of deeper colour in there, and just to bring that depth together. Back onto the metalworks whilst I'm waiting for the REKLAND to dry, and it's NULN oil again. Again, always thin down. This is going to take a couple of layers to get a real good shaded effect on the metalwork. So onto the robes and all the purity steel type things. I'll be over for a moment, and this is Heavy Brown, which has been mixed with some bone white to get the first layers on. And what I'm doing is just adding some real nice thin layers of REKLAND Flesh into the recesses. As you can see, I'm just starting to bring that up to a nice creamy yellow colour. I'm trying to add a bit of detail but because I'm using such thin washes, it can be a little bit more liberal with it. But I'm trying to keep it all in the deepest sections so I can highlight it up nicely. So I've added some purity white into the bone white, and as you can see, I'm just starting to tidy it all up a little bit, give them highlights nice and neat, and really start to make the robes and the oaths of moment look that bit more interesting as the washes add the depth. So it's pretty much purity white at this point. It's a that's a scale 75 colour, but any white will do. It's just the one that I had to hand, and as you can see, I'm just using the flat of a brush again, along the edges. I'm just trying to keep those highlights as neat as possible without going too far into the deeper recesses. The sunburst motif on the top and also the scarab heads is painted in a base of hammered copper by Vallejo. I wanted a goldy colour, but I didn't want it to be too gold. I wanted a little bit more colour on it, so it didn't match too much with the other golds. So I'm using bright bronze as its highlight, which is another Vallejo colour, and just starting to add a few gentle highlights across all the areas what I've selected to be the bronze. And now it's Moonstone is just adding the extra highlight onto the bronze, which is going to get tidied up with a bit of NULN oil as well. And that is pretty much the end of this tutorial. So another fairly short one here, guys. Got a nice looking Contempter. Now, as you can see, it's had its oil wash. Once it's had its pin wash and been varnished and everything, you get a final effect like this. So I hope you enjoyed this particular video, and as always we've got a few thank yous to make. Huge thank yous to your boys Matt, Ludwig Hofbauer, D-Wack, Mark, Dave and Tom. Thank you for your sponsorship on Patreon. You're our top paying patrons, and without your help we wouldn't be able to do any of this, so huge thank yous to you. Also thank you to the Outpost. There are affiliate link in the description. If you use our affiliate link, any purchases you go through will get your standard discounts, and we will also get 5% store credit as well at no cost to you, so that's a huge help as well. So I hope you like this video. I'm still working my way through this new software, so I'm still trying to figure things out a little bit, but we're getting there. I think I'm starting to improve. I just need to start getting a bit more comfortable with the new software as well. So thanks for watching this, guys, and I shall catch you in the next one. Ta-ra!